Hello, welcome to my channel. When I started growing my collection last year, I learned from my local club members, from social media, and from fellow YouTubers how to propagate African violet from leaves. There are several methods to do it, and in this episode I will show you my preferred propagation method. I spoke about it in some of my previous videos, and I thought I should make a separate video about it. There are two ways of rooting African violet leaves. Some prefer rooting the leaves in water first and then potting them in the potting mix, and I prefer the second method, which I believe is faster than the first method, is potting the leaves directly in soil or in the potting mix, and then they start growing roots first and then start growing babies. For potting containers, I use different types of small containers. For standards, I use 3-ounce plastic solo cups. And for miniatures and semi-miniatures, I use 2-ounce plastic cups. And there are also 2.5-ounce condiment cups that I also use. And they look like this, multi-purpose mini cups. I make the drain holes in the bottom of the pot with the soldering iron, like so. For the potting mix, I make my own recipe for all growing needs. I grow leaves in them, and then I grow adult plants. And the main ingredients are Promix BX and coarse perlite. I've been adjusting it over time, and here is the recipe I currently use. Today we will be planting leaves of 3 different varieties. A miniature Max Just Jeff. It's a beautiful mosaic variegation hybrid with red coral blooms. A semi-miniature called Jolly Moonflower, and a standard, a vintage variety called Firehouse by Iredome. One of the secrets of successful leaf propagation is that you need to choose a healthy, fully developed leaf that is not damaged or not old, and this leaf will produce healthy offspring. For example, here is a leaf of Optimara Romance that I potted in the Selective Gardener unboxing video earlier this year, and it produced good, viable, healthy babies. It was potted 4 months ago on the 7th of May of 2020. Usually the leaves like this are in the 2nd or 3rd row, counting from the center of the rosette. Try not to pick leaves that are old or have damage on them, because even though they may produce offspring, but sometimes they can just rot. So for example, this one is a good example of a damaged leaf that did produce offspring. It was cracked here and then it was damaged here in the middle, and that's also Optimara Romance that was potted on the same date. But we can compare the size of the babies that each of these leaves produced, and you can see that the healthier and the younger leaf produced healthier and stronger babies than the older leaf that was damaged, and they were potted on the same date. For African violets with variegated leaves, it is also important to choose a leaf that has the most green in it. So for example, the leaves that are in the center, and they have more variegation than the leaves in the second or third row, they can produce offspring, but we'll have more luck if we picked the greenest leaf. For example, this one looks really good. So, and it's the third row, or it might be even the fourth row, but it looks really nice and healthy. So let's pick this leaf here. We will snap it from the base to make sure there is no piece left here. Here, so you should hear the sound when you break the leaf off. So the stem is very long in the leaf, and we will need to cut it at an angle of 45 degrees with a clean X-Acto knife or a clean blade. So choose a hard surface, and we will take X-Acto knife like that. I bought it at a local home goods store or Michael's store, some arts and crafts store. And then we will cut it at an angle, leaving about 1/2 inch to 1 inch stem, and let it dry. So it needs to dry for about 10 minutes. What if a leaf doesn't have a stem, and can you propagate it? Yes, you can, and I didn't know about it until somebody shared it on Facebook in African Violet Nerds group. The grower said that you can simply lay the leaf that doesn't have the stem on the surface of the potting mix and dome it, and it will start rooting. So this is what I did with these two leaves. This one is Rose Bouquet that I potted 4 months ago, and as you can see, the leaf that didn't have a stem, even though it started rotting away, but it did produce a couple of babies just from the base of the leaf. And this one is Lea Zolota Skifov, or L.E. Gold of the Scythians by Yelena Libetskaya, and I received it from Violet Barn earlier this month. And this leaf just broke off in shipping, so this is a rare variety, so I decided that I don't want to throw it away, and I just laid it on the surface of the potting mix. And you will see that as it starts rooting, it starts rising up from the surface, like here, for example. This was also just laying on the surface, but as it starts rooting and producing baby, it starts growing up a little bit. Let's also choose leaves from Jolly Moonflower. I think this leaf looks good, and this one looks very strong and healthy as well. So we can break it off. We will also cut it the same way like we cut the Max Just Jeff. If you would like to disinfect the X-Acto knife before making each incision, for example, if you aren't sure if the leaves come from the healthy plant or the healthy source, it's recommended that you disinfect the X-Acto knife using rubbing alcohol. And I just use the cotton rounds and the 70% rubbing alcohol that I get at the convenience store to disinfect the blade of the X-Acto knife before you make a cut, the next cut. So now we can cut the next leaf at a 45-degree angle, like so. And for the standard Firehouse variety, we will also repeat the same procedure. We will pick this leaf probably, it looks really nice. This is a young plant, so all leaves are nice and shiny. And we will also disinfect the X-Acto knife with rubbing alcohol, and on the hard surface cut it at a distance of about 1/2 inch to 1 inch at a 45-degree angle, like so, and let them dry for about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I have prepared the plastic cups in which I will be planting the leaves. And so for the miniature and the semi-miniature, I will be using the 2-ounce plastic cup, and for the standard I will be using a 3-ounce plastic solo cup. I use electrical tape and permanent marker to make the labels and to put the name of the variety and the today's date. And here is the electrical tape that I get to make my labels. I buy it on Amazon. And here is the permanent marker. I use Sharpies because they make thin lines and it's easier to read. Can we plant more than one leaf per pot? It depends on the size of the pot. For example, the 2-ounce plastic cup opening is too narrow to fit more than one leaf because babies need room to grow. And in comparison, the 2.5-ounce condiment cup is wider, so it can fit 2 smaller leaves comfortably if they are miniatures or semi-miniatures. But if it's a standard variety, then this is what starts happening when the babies start growing. This is antique tapestry, and so you see the strong baby gets taller on this leaf here, and the smaller babies that start growing from the smaller leaf, they kind of get shaded by this taller, stronger looking babies. So it's not ideal, but it can be done. And of course, then if you want to pot more than one leaf, for example 2 leaves here, then I recommend choosing a larger container, for example like this one. And this is Deo Marzipan. It's a standard variety, and the way I pot them is that when babies start growing, the babies for this leaf will start growing here, and the babies from that leaf will ideally start growing somewhere here, so they will not be intersecting in their growth. I will fill the containers with the potting mix, and the potting mix has been pre-moistened. So when I make the mix, I always add hot or warm water at the very end. The potting mix should be not compact. It should be light and airy so that the leaves can root easily. And now we take a leaf and insert it at an 45-degree angle And we can make an indentation with a tool, like a sharp pen, or we can just insert it like that and then water it gently and sparingly. The key is here not to overwater and not to make the soil or the potting mix drenched, because the leaves will be at risk of rotting. This was Max Just Jeff, and now we will pot in the same size cup the leaf of Jolly Moonflower. And if you see any like sticks here or any large pieces of potting mix, discard off of them, because the roots will need no obstacles. Like here, for example, I tried to get rid of these insertions. Like this here. Yeah, so then shake it gently so it distributes evenly in the pot until it's full. And then here comes Jolly Moonflower, and as well we are inserting it at a 45-degree angle, just like so, so that babies, when they start coming out, they will be growing straight. And we can water this one a little bit. And then finally the standard leaf will go in a 3-ounce plastic cup. Let's get rid of this. Okay, this should do. And then we will put the firehouse leaf in here also at a 45-degree angle, like that. Because the soil is very airy, it's easy to insert the leaf, so you really don't need any special tools for that. The water that I use to water the leaves is a plain tap water, and then I start adding fertilizer at the same rate that I use it for my adult plants, and I use 1/4 teaspoon per gallon of water of Dynagrow at 795 NPK ratio, and sometimes I switch to Jack's Classic balanced fertilizer at 20-20-20 NPK ratio, and I use 1/8 teaspoon per gallon of water of Jack's. I put the planted leaves in the domed propagation trays, and because they're domed, I don't have to water them frequently because the moisture stays inside. And I will make a separate video about the containers that I use and where I get them, so stay tuned for that. I close the propagation trays with the domes, and the domes have vents in them, and I keep the vents half open to provide access of air. They grow under the LED lights that are 5000 K and 4100 lumen at the temperature ranging between 65 and 79 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are now in September, so it's on the warmer side at 79, and the humidity is 48%. But the humidity factor is almost irrelevant here because the dome helps keep the humidity inside. In about 2 to 3 months, the leaves will start growing babies, and some varieties take longer than others. And that's how I propagate my African violets from leaves. In the next episode, I will show you the types of propagation trays that I use in my growing environment, also known as my living room. Thank you all so very much for watching. Stay safe and be well. And if you'd like to stay tuned for my future videos, please subscribe.